All right, so today, let's do a deep dive into something I think everyone in tech can relate to.
Oh, yeah,
Coding interviews.
definitely.
Especially when you're like going for the Googles, the Facebooks, all those,
The big ones.
yeah, the top companies.
Yep.
So we're looking at this article, Avoid These Coding Interview Pitfalls to Improve Faster.
Oh, yeah. It's a good one.
And I think there's a lot of stuff in here that's going to really help people.
Yeah, you know what I really like about this article is that it kind of goes beyond just the technical stuff.
Oh, yeah, for
It
sure.
really digs into the softer skills, which, let's be honest, that's often what trips people up.
Mm-hmm.
Like how you communicate, how you break down problems,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Absolutely. So let's just jump into it.
Okay.
Pitfall number 1, rushing to code without a plan.
Ah, yes, the classic mistake.
Yeah, like we see the problem and we just want to like get our hands on the keyboard and
Just start typing.
yeah, and just start coding.
Yep. Been
Yeah.
there, done that.
But the article makes this great analogy about like,
Oh, yeah.
it's like building a house without a blueprint.
Exactly. You wouldn't
Yeah.
start laying bricks without knowing what you're building.
Right.
I've seen this happen so many times in interviews.
Oh, I bet.
Someone just dives right into the code.
Mm-hmm.
They don't even take a second to really understand what the
Yeah.
problem's asking.
Oh, wow.
And they end up going down these rabbit holes writing all this code that doesn't even solve the problem.
Oh, that's gotta be rough.
It's painful to watch, and for them too.
So what's the fix? Like, how can people avoid this?
You got to pause,
Okay.
take a breath before you write any code.
Mm-hmm.
Really analyze the problem, right? Think about what it's asking.
Mm-hmm.
Ask some clarifying questions if you need to.
Yeah.
Maybe sketch out a plan, like a little roadmap of how you're going to approach it.
Okay, so it's like showing them that you're an architect, not just a construction worker.
I love that analogy,
Okay.
Ryan. It's about showing them you can design a solution, not just, write the code.
Yeah.
And honestly, taking that little bit of time to think it through up front can save you so much headache later
Oh, I bet.
when you're halfway through and realize you went down the wrong path.
All right, pitfall number 2, neglecting time and space complexity.
Ah, yes, the efficiency trap.
This one always kind of scares me, to be honest.
Yeah, it can seem intimidating.
So can you break it down for us, like for someone who's not like a total algorithms whiz?
Sure. Think of it this way. Imagine you have two ways to solve a problem.
Okay.
One takes hours to run,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you have a ton of data,
Okay.
and the other one does the same thing in like minutes.
Okay, which one would you choose?
Yeah, exactly right. Time is valuable.
Absolutely.
And that's what time and space complexity are all about. It's like figuring out how efficient your code is,
Okay.
how much time and memory it takes to run,
Yeah.
especially as the data gets bigger and bigger.
Okay, so like the article talks about finding a pair of numbers in an array that add up to a target value.
Yeah, classic problem.
Yeah.
And they show how using a hash map can like really speed things up, especially when you have a ton of numbers to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where that whole big O notation thing comes in.
Ooh, yeah. Scary.
I know it sounds complicated,
Yeah.
but it's really just a way to describe how efficient an algorithm is in a simple way.
Okay, so even if I don't totally get big O notation, the main point is to think about efficiency.
Yes, especially when you're dealing with lots of data.
Okay.
Like companies like Google or Amazon, they'd work with massive data sets.
Right.
So for them, efficient code is super important.
Makes sense. Okay, so on to pitfall number 3, poor communication.
Ah, this one's a biggie.
You know, I think a lot of people, myself included, kind of go into coding interviews thinking it's like a silent coding test.
Right, like you just code and they watch.
Yeah, you just get the problem, you code, and that's it.
Yeah, but it's so much more than that.
Okay.
It's not just about the code. It's about how you think, how you solve problems,
Mm-hmm.
and how you communicate those thoughts to the interviewer.
So it's more like a conversation
Check.
than just like a presentation.
You're trying to convince the interviewer that you understand the problem, right?
Yeah.
That you thought through different solutions,
Mm-hmm.
and that you can explain your reasoning in a clear way.
Okay.
I've interviewed some brilliant coders who just couldn't articulate their thoughts.
Oh, wow.
They get lost in the jargon, they mumble, it's hard to follow their logic,
Yeah.
and that can be a real deal breaker.
Yeah, even if the code works.
Exactly.
So how do you get better at this whole communication thing?
Practice, practice, practice.
Okay.
Talk through your code out loud,
Mm.
explain your choices, even if you're not sure about something, say it.
So like treat the interviewer like they're your coding buddy.
Yeah, exactly. You're working together to solve the problem.
Okay.
Aye.
I like that. All right, pitfall number 4, ignoring edge cases and input validation.
Yes. Always got to watch out for those edge cases.
So I have to admit, I sometimes fall into this trap where I just assume everything's going to be perfect.
The happy path? Tempting. But real-world software, it's messy.
Right.
You got to think about all the weird stuff that could happen.
So, like, what kinds of things?
Well, like the article gives the example of a function to find the maximum value in an array.
Oh, yeah.
Seems simple enough,
Right.
but what if the array is empty?
Hmm.
Or what if it has like strings instead of numbers?
Oh.
You got to handle all those weird cases.
So it's like showing them that you're thinking beyond just the basic scenario.
Exactly. You're showing them you're thorough, you're thinking critically about all the possibilities.
Okay, makes sense. All right, pitfall number 5, neglecting code quality and readability.
Oh, this is a pet peeve of mine.
I know we all want to just like crank out the code as fast as possible.
Especially in an interview.
Right.
But readability matters.
Okay.
Think about it from the interviewer's perspective. They're looking at tons of code samples.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have time to decipher a jumbled mess.
Yeah.
If your code is clean and easy to read,
Yeah.
it makes their job easier.
The article shows that comparison of like messy versus clean code.
Oh, yeah, that's good visual.
It's like night and day.
It's like the difference between like a well-organized essay
Mm-hmm.
and just a random stream of consciousness.
So even in an interview, take the time to format the code, use good variable names,
Absolutely.
add comments.
It shows you care about writing good code, even under pressure.
All right, pitfall number 6, failing to test your code.
Ah, yes, testing.
I know we hear this all the time in software development,
It's fundamental.
but how important is it really in a coding interview?
Well, you might not have time to write full-blown unit tests,
Okay.
but you should at least show that you're thinking about testing.
Okay.
Like, run through some test cases in your head.
Mm-hmm.
Think about different inputs
Yeah.
and make sure your code gives the right output.
So it's like demonstrating that you're not just assuming your code works perfectly.
Yeah, you're verifying it. You're being thorough.
Okay, this next one is interesting. Not asking for help or clarification.
Ooh, that's a tricky one.
I feel like a lot of people, and again, I'm including myself in this, are hesitant to ask questions in an interview.
It feels like you're admitting you don't know something.
Yeah, and that feels bad.
Right. But actually asking good questions is a sign of intelligence.
Okay.
It shows you're engaged, you're thinking critically,
Mm-hmm.
you're not afraid to ask for clarification if you need it.
So it's more about showing that you're thinking deeply about the problem,
Exactly.
not just trying to like blindly solve it.
If you were working on a real project, you would ask questions, right?
Right.
You wouldn't just guess what the client wanted.
So what are some good questions to ask in a coding interview?
Well, it depends on the specific problem.
Okay.
But some good general ones are like, can you give me an example of the expected input and output?
Okay.
Or are there any performance constraints I should be aware of?
Mm-hmm.
Or even, is there a particular approach you'd like me to consider?
So it's about showing that you're not just trying to impress them with your coding skills, but that you're genuinely interested in understanding the problem
Exactly.
and finding the best solution.
It's a collaborative process, and showing that you can communicate well and ask for help when you need it, that's a valuable skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
In any job, really, but especially in software.
Okay, so pitfall number 8 is giving up too easily.
Oof. We've all been there, right?
Oh, yeah, you're just like staring at this problem.
And you hit a wall.
Yeah.
And you just want to give up.
But the article says it's really important to just keep pushing forward, stay positive.
Yeah, coding interviews are tough, right?
Yeah.
They're meant to be challenging.
Mm.
The interviewers want to see how you handle that pressure,
Right.
how you approach obstacles.
So it's not just about getting to the perfect answer right away.
No, it's about the journey.
Yeah.
It's about showing how you think, how you break down a problem, even if you don't get to the solution right away.
And sometimes just talking through it can help.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Verbalizing your thoughts. Even if they're not fully formed ideas, just getting them out there can help you see things more clearly.
So don't give up. Keep talking. Keep thinking.
Exactly. Persistence is key.
Okay, this next one seems kind of counterintuitive, especially in an interview. Neglecting to review and optimize your solution.
Ah. Yeah, you might think if you have a working solution, you're good to go.
Right. Like, why spend extra time on it?
Well, think about it like this. You're building a bridge,
Okay.
and you have a design that works. It holds the weight. People can cross it.
Yeah.
But could it be better?
Oh.
Could it be stronger, more efficient? Could you use less material? make it more wind resistant.
So it's about going beyond just making it work.
Yeah, striving for excellence.
Okay.
In a coding interview, taking that extra step to review and optimize your code shows the interviewer that you care about quality.
Right.
You're not just satisfied with good enough.
The article uses the example of finding duplicate elements in an array.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And they show like 3 different solutions,
Uh,
each one getting more and more optimized.
it shows that even for a simple problem, there can be many ways to solve it.
And some are better than others.
Exactly.
So even if you're feeling pressed for time, take a few minutes to look back at your code.
See if there are any improvements you can make.
Okay, and the last pitfall, forgetting to ask questions at the end.
Ah, yes, the interview is a two-way street.
I feel like a lot of people forget that.
It's easy to get caught up in just trying to impress the interviewer.
Right.
But remember, you're also evaluating them.
Okay.
Asking thoughtful questions at the end shows that you're genuinely interested.
Mm-hmm.
It also gives you valuable information.
Like what kind of things should you ask about?
Well, you can ask about the team culture, the company's engineering practices,
Okay.
the specific challenges of the role, the opportunities for growth.
So don't be afraid to go beyond the generic questions.
Yeah, if you're really passionate about a particular technology or area of software development, ask about it. It shows you've done your research and you're thinking about how you can contribute.
So it's almost like you're interviewing them.
In a way.
You're gathering information to see if this is the right fit for you.
Exactly. And if a company isn't receptive to your questions, that might be a red flag.
Okay, we covered a lot of ground here.
We did.
Those 10 coding interview pitfalls.
And how to avoid them.
Planning, thinking strategically, communicating clearly, testing, optimizing.
It's all important.
And asking questions.
During the interview and at the end.
Right. And most importantly, staying positive, being persistent.
Mindset is key.
I know we initially planned to talk about phone screens today,
Yeah?
but maybe we save that for another deep dive.
I think that's a good idea. Phone screens are a whole other beast.
Yeah, they have their own set of challenges.
Exactly.
So for now, let's switch gears a bit and talk about something that can be really helpful for anyone prepping for coding interviews, online platforms, and resources.
Oh, yeah. There are so many great websites and tools out there.
Like, what are some of your favorites?
Well, LeetCode, HackerRank, Code Wars, they all offer a ton of coding challenges, and they're categorized by difficulty, company,
Wow.
even specific data structures and algorithms.
So it's like a gym for your coding muscles.
Exactly. You can practice, get stronger, and track your progress.
And a lot of them have mock interviews, right?
Yeah, where you can practice with real interviewers and get feedback.
Oh, that's so valuable.
It really simulates the interview environment.
Yeah, it gets you comfortable with the format, the pressure.
You can see where you need to improve.
Plus, they often have community forums.
Yeah, where you can connect with other people who are going through the same thing.
Right. Share tips, ask questions.
That sense of community can be really helpful.
So beyond those online platforms, any other resources or strategies you recommend?
Well, I'm a big fan of real-world projects.
Oh, yeah.
Building something tangible, even if it's small.
Like a little app or something.
Exactly. It helps solidify your understanding and shows you can apply what you've learned.
It's like taking those algorithms and data structures out for a test drive.
Right. And it gives you something concrete to talk about in interviews.
Yeah, you can showcase your project, explain the challenges you faced.
And the lessons you learn along the way.
I know some people also recommend contributing to open source projects.
That's another great way to gain experience
Yeah, you get to work on real-world code bases.
with experienced developers.
Okay, so before we wrap up, I want to touch on something that's often overlooked, mindset.
Ah, yes, the mental game.
Coding interviews can be stressful,
They are?
and it's easy to get caught up in self-doubt.
Absolutely.
So what advice do you have for staying positive and confident?
I think the most important thing is to remember that every interview is a learning experience.
Even if you don't get the job.
Exactly. It's about identifying your strengths, areas where you can improve.
It's not about perfection, it's about progress.
I love that. And don't compare yourself to others.
Yeah, that's easy to do.
Everyone has their own journey, their own pace.
So focus on your own growth.
Be kind to yourself. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Absolutely. All right, so I think our listeners are walking away with a much better understanding of what to expect in these interviews.
Yeah, and how to prepare for them.
Right, and how to approach them with the right mindset.
Exactly. You don't have to be a coding genius.
Right.
You just got to be prepared and confident.
So before we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to add? Any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
You know, one thing I always tell people is to focus on the fundamentals.
Okay.
Data structures, algorithms, problem-solving techniques.
The basics.
Yeah, those are the building blocks of everything we do.
So it's not about memorizing every single algorithm.
No, it's about understanding the core concepts.
Okay.
When you have that solid foundation, you can learn anything.
It's like having a strong base.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can build anything on top of it.
And this learning doesn't stop after the interview.
No, it's a lifelong journey.
Yeah, technology is constantly evolving.
So you got to keep learning and adapting.
Absolutely. So to all our listeners out there,
Embrace the challenge.
stay curious.
Never stop learning.
Well, that's a wrap on today's deep dive into coding interview pitfalls and how to avoid them.
We covered a lot.
Yeah, but I think the main takeaway is preparation, practice, a positive mindset.
And a solid understanding of the fundamentals.
Those are your keys to success.
Go out there and crush those interviews.
And don't forget to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more insightful deep dives.
Into all sorts of cool stuff.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.